some people really struggle with this topic because they say, really, are you trying to tell me that the food is eating ourselves to death? I mean, I would say a lot of baby boomers struggle with this because they find it hard to believe that the companies could be this sinister and the food could be this bad. And they also don't want to acknowledge that our parents have largely been poisoning us.
Okay, so here's what I would say to Gen X, especially older Gen X, which is my parents. They were born in 67, and then the baby boomer generation to understand this. So remember when the tides turned and everybody understood that cigarettes were causing cancer and bad for you? All of those scientists who were paid to make cigarettes as addictive as possible were bought by the big food companies in the 80s. And they said, hey, we want you to now transfer all of your talent into the ultra processed food, the chips and the cookies and even other stuff, your chicken tenders, whatever. We want you to make it as addictive as possible. They did it. They did it. In the 90s, when you and I were growing up, that's when you started to see things change. McDonald's getting rid of beef tallow and started using seed oils to cook their fries.
I didn't know that.
Goldfish. Oh my gosh, you should look at a goldfish cracker ingredient list from when you and I were little compared to now. It's crazy. So they started pumping all of this crap. That's also when GMOs came out, was in the 90s. We started spraying everything with glyphosate and all that. So this is... it's not the same food that you grew up with, and that is what the point that we're trying to make. So yeah, a goldfish cracker in 1994 would be different than a goldfish cracker in 2024. It's just the sad state of things, and this is the kind of stuff that needs to change. And
sadly, we were actually a healthier country when we smoked. We were less fat.
Well, that's before you also had everybody really using all these seed oils and stuff. That's what's causing the problems.
Yeah, no, I mean, so let's, by the way, this is Alex Jones and RFK. Play cut 140.
There's atrazine throughout our water supply. If you, in a lab, put atrazine in a tank full of frogs, it will feminize every frog in there.
I don't like to put chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
And 10% of the male frogs will turn into fully viable females able to produce viable eggs. If it's doing that to frogs, there's a lot of other evidence that it's doing it to human beings as well.
That is amazing. I love that clip.
Isn't that great?
That is so good.
But so how do you push back against them calling you conspiracy theorist, all this other stuff?
Well, it's not a conspiracy. The evidence is there. I mean, look at all of the data from the last 40 years of how our health has gotten worse. How are we overprescribing? Everybody's on like 15 medications now. We're sicker than ever. If this stuff was working, the over-medicalizing of American society, if this was working, why is everybody so sick? Why are we getting worse and not better?
We are getting fatter. We're getting sadder. The medication is not helping. Chronic diseases are exploding.
The other thing I would say to people that are skeptical of this and just think it's like really crazy and it's like, oh, it should just be easy to make the right decisions, right? Like, oh, everyone knows don't eat cookies and candy. So let me give you an example. The American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association, they take money from people like Coca-Cola. Now, we know that Coca-Cola is going to make those medical issues worse, right? But they take money from them. Why? Because it's all compromise. It's all a business. If everybody is sick and they have heart problems, then they have to join the American Heart Association. And then the American Heart Association, by the way, one of their biggest funders, canola oil. Big canola funds the American Heart Association, which we know causes heart disease. So you see, it's all a circular effect. So it's not crazy. It's not conspiratorial. This is real life. This is real life.
The political side of it, we are struggling with young women voters. What can we be doing better?
We need to focus on this issue and keep talking about it.
So you think food health is the most...
This is the number one thing.
This is the kicker.
This is the number one thing. I was just texting with a really prominent podcaster in the health and wellness space. She endorsed Biden. And this morning she texted me and she said, I have been a liberal registered Democrat my entire life. I am telling everyone to vote for Trump. This is so much bigger than you realize. So if anyone from the Trump campaign is listening, have J.D. Vance keep talking about seed oils. I tweeted him this morning. I said, J.D. Vance, keep talking about seed oils because he has before and the women loved it. Trump, focus on food and pharma. We're taking on food and pharma. Our RFK obviously does that. The women voters and especially the undecided women voters, we can win on this issue and keep talking about how the Kamala Harris campaign is completely compromised and bought and paid for by food. Big food.
Big food, big pharma have bought the Kamala Harris campaign, and they're taking their liberal mom base for granted. They think their liberal mom base only cares about abortion, but they also care about produce, food, what their kids are eating.
Yep. Keep focusing on this with conservatives. And if you need a scapegoat to say why you're voting for Trump because your friends and family are just going to rake you over the coals, say it's for RFK. That's okay. He'll take the blame. He'll happily take the blame.
He will take the blame. Alex, excellent work. And we can't really plug a podcast right now, can we?
I know, because we're changing the name. So September 9th, follow me at Real Alex Clark on Instagram. On September 9th, you'll find out the new name of my show, where we are doing multiple interviews every week focusing on things like food and pharma, all things health and wellness, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Alex, thank you so much.